Okay, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone and call the meeting of the Board of Supervisors for Schuykill Township and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll do our roll call here. We have in person, we have Susan Garrett, Danielle Joanne, Mark Donovan, and myself. We also have Lori Getz, Bill Brennan, Paul Bettinger, and Tina Stevens here as well. I'm sorry, and Bob Cooney is on Zoom. Sorry about that, Bob. Okay. We did have executive sessions. We had one on February 16th. And we also have one on March 8th, and we discussed property acquisition and potential litigation.
And no personnel issues to discuss.
Hey, that's awesome. Okay. Okay, moving on. We have a presentation, the Schuykill Township Police Department accreditation ceremony. I would like to introduce everyone to Chief Jim Adams. He is the Accreditation Program Coordinator for the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association.
Thank you very much. I'm assuming I'm supposed to use the microphone.
Yes, please do.
Not a problem. You made the mistake of saying I didn't have a time limit, and when I have a microphone and a captive audience, sometimes it can go. But seriously, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to publicly present the accreditation certificate to the Schuykill Township Police Department. And just real quickly, I want to make sure that, I'm sure the board is fully aware as far as what accreditation is, but maybe some people in the audience, residents, or are on by Zoom or may watch the recording of this meeting at some point. Just want to make sure everybody's aware this is not a sticker for life program, and a lot of work went into getting to this point. A little bit about the process. When the decision was made by your police department and along with the elected officials to pursue accreditation, they take a hard look internally as far as the existing policies and procedures, and do they line up with the standards that apply to accreditation. Well, standards, basically what they are best practices. We have 125 standards that a police department has to comply with, which really isn't accurate because within those 125 standards, there's a lot of what we call substandards or bullets that also have to be met because we break down the standards. So when you add them all up, your police department, by going through accreditation, took a look at their policies, and they align with 370 best practices of our accreditation program. And that's the first step as far as making sure their policies and procedures line up with the standards. But then they also have to prove that their officers, their staff, are actually complying with the policies, because it's more than just having a policy manual on the shelf. The officers have to actually comply with the policies. So what does it mean for the township, for the residents? Well, your chief, your police department obviously is concerned about risk management. By virtue of being accredited, it puts a lot of things into play. Insurance companies now are starting to recognize the value of accreditation. The research shows that when you compare like police departments, accredited versus non-accredited, accredited police departments get sued significantly less than non-accredited police departments. And when they do get sued, the payouts are also much less. So if you haven't already talked to your insurance carrier, give them a call because you're saving them money, and it should be reflected. But I'm not here to pitch liability insurance. Your police department, there's approximately 1,100 police departments in Pennsylvania. We have 150 of them currently accredited. That means about only 14% of the police departments are accredited, yours being one of them, and that's quite an achievement. Over the course of the program, which went live in 2001, the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police have accredited about 175 police departments. Why do we only have 150 accredited? Well, it's because it's not a sticker for life program. They have to supply, an accredited agency has to supply a very lengthy annual report. It's basically self-attesting that all their policies are still in place, that they're complying. They have proofs of compliance in place. And then every 3 years, we send a new team of assessors here to Schuykill Township and sit down with the police department and go through their policies and making sure they're in alignment with our accreditation standards. Assuming they're successful, they get accredited for another 3 years. So it's quite an achievement, a lot of work, and you know, it's something I can stand here and talk about accreditation all night long. I'd be more than happy to, but I suspect you probably have 1 or 2 other things to do. But seriously, if anybody has an interest in the accreditation program, I'm sure you can talk to your chief, your accreditation manager, but we have all those 125 standards posted on our webpage. It's a public-facing webpage. Just go on to Pennsylvania Chiefs, and you'll see an accreditation tab. Click on it. There's a ton of information about our program, and there's also a tab that'll bring up all 125 standards, so you can actually see what your police department is complying with. And just as a side note, as far as the benefits, it's not something that you know, we're proud of, the George Floyd situation a couple years ago. But right after that, there was a big push for a lot of things that police departments should be doing. And a couple of our state elected officials came out with the 8 Can't Wait initiatives that they started to push and think every police department needs to incorporate these 8 Can't Wait initiatives in law enforcement. Well, guess what? All 8 of those were already standards in our program for many, many years, long before the George Floyd incident. So it helps put your police department ahead of the curve. We're constantly evaluating what's going on, and every year we rewrite the standards manual and add some and modify some, much to the chagrin of your accreditation manager that has to make sure he has to update his standards. So I'm going to be quiet now and certainly call up your chief, who may have a couple words, and then I want to make the official public presentation. Chief.
Real quick, I'll keep it short. First, I just want to thank Chief Adams and the PA chiefs and the commission for approving our police department. I'd like to thank the Schuykill Township Board of Supervisors, our township manager, for your support through the whole thing. Jen Rosari from Lexipol was key in getting this done for us. She was able to keep us organized and gather all the proofs that we needed, and really guided us along the way. She was a really valuable asset to have. Lieutenant Fitzsimmons, Sergeant McCarthy were key assets as well, did a lot of work, but every member in this police department played a part in this accreditation process. It was a total team effort. Pat and Joanna, our civilians, played a part, digging up proofs, gathering information. So, you know, this is truly a team accomplishment as far as the accreditation goes. And again, I'd just like to thank the board for your support. And Jim, again, thanks for coming out. I know you drove a long way to get here, but thank you for coming out and doing this presentation for us.
My pleasure. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're actually going to take a 5-minute break so we can have some photographs, and you guys can do what you need to do. Perfect. Okay. Well, that was nice and exciting. And really good news. And Chief, congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for all your hard work on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to our regular business meeting. Oh. I'm going to call the meeting back to order. Sorry. Matt, I'm a little rusty here, you know.
It's been months. Yeah.
Okay. Getting back to our regular business meeting, the consent agenda, acceptance of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors, February 8th, 2023 business meeting, all departmental, committee, commission, and council reports as posted and received by the Board of Supervisors for the month of February 2023. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The Treasurer's report and payment of bills. Consideration of acceptance of the treasurer's report for the period ending February 28th, 2023. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Lori?
All right, treasurer's report for the month of February. We had a general fund balance of about 3.8 million. That's up about 200,000 over last month. Year to date, we've realized 14% of our revenue and 12% of our expenses. Just a couple other things to point out. Our ARP funds, we have a balance as of February 28th of $698,000. We have started spending some of those the federal ARP funds, the bulk of which was for our Paul Lehman Drive project. We made our first payment there, so Paul will give us an update on that later. But we did also, in that same month, we received our $300,000 in grant funding for that project. So it was kind of a wash what we spent, so that was great. That's it for the treasurer's report, and all the bills have been reviewed and are recommended for payment.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board?
Nope.
All those in favor? Aye. Approval of disbursements dated March 8th, 2023. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Board discussion items. The subdivision land development. Number one, the zoning hearing board application for 195 Country Lane. The applicant is seeking zoning relief to install an in-ground pool. Oh, and you guys are here. Fabulous. So if you could, whoever's going to speak, if you could come up to the microphone, that would be great, because we do want to get it on the recording here.
Just so I can reset, this is one of those zoning issues, the board will hear and then make a judgment about whether to participate or not.
Good evening, my name is Kristen Camp, I'm an attorney who practices primarily in municipal zoning and land use. John Sweet and John Spritz are the applicants. They own the property at 195 Country Lane. It is located on the south side of Country Lane in the Sunwood Farm development. That's located in the R1 district. Tim Brennan is here. He's a professional engineer from Nave Newell. He prepared the zoning plan that is attached to the application. And the purpose for why they're here is they'd like to build a swimming pool and an outdoor patio area in the backyard. These gentlemen adopted 3 children, ages 5, 8, and 12. I hope I have that right. And when they did that, they promised them if they could get all the necessary approvals and permits, they would build a swimming pool. So that's really the goal. The property, I went out this morning for the first time and saw the property. It's a beautiful neighborhood. The property slopes about 40 feet down from Country Lane to the backyard. The neighboring properties are also sloped down. On the bordering property to the south is a stream. And that stream is not on their property, but because of the way your natural resource protection standards are written, in addition to needing relief for the steep slope regulations, they also need relief for the inner riparian buffer regulations. Your ordinance is very restrictive in that if you have steep slopes, normally your riparian buffer is 50 feet from the top of bank for the inner buffer, and then another 50 feet. But in this case, because the backyard is all steep slopes, basically the entire backyard is considered inner riparian buffer. So that is another reason we need relief. I'm going to turn it over to Tim real quick, and I forgot to mention I have the landscape designers from Turnpin Landscaping, Melissa Riley and John Fawcett are here if you have questions on the construction techniques. And I also want to pass out, I think it's helpful to have pictures. So I'm going to give the board members.
I think we may have,
Well, these are
It's
actually,
anything that was
they're
attached.
different. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
well, let me give you it all just in case.
Okay.
Pictures of the actual property, which I think is always.
Yeah, we don't have the photo.
No, we don't have those. Thank you.
So
We
those
just
are
have
the
the
first
overheads.
8.5 by 11s.
Okay, thank you.
The aerial map was attached to the zoning application, so there's 2 of those. Oh, sorry.
Nope, that's
All
okay.
good.
Thank you.
One more set I can. So just real quick to go through, and John, please jump in if I'm not describing it right, but this is the dwelling.
Excuse me just for a second. Ian, can you hear her okay? Or does she need to speak into the microphone?
Better yet.
Okay.
Better? Okay. The first one is just a front of the house. Beautiful house, 2 stories, paved driveway. Second picture shows a little bit, there currently is a wood deck that will be removed and replaced. Starts to show how the lot slopes to the back, to the south, to the rear. They indicated to me this evening that there was a storm in 2020, you named a certain kind of storm. Say it again? The Risha.
Derecha.
That basically the winds,
Up the hill behind us.
so,
Took out 13 trees, so it was a wooded lot at one point, but after that, it wasn't.
and that was also, you know, with that natural ruining of those trees, it created a nicer area for recreational purposes for a swimming pool. The next picture shows you again sort of the slope going down and then the valley where the stream is located in between, and then starts to go up the hill to the property to the south. Again, the next picture is just showing the rear yard area. Some existing trees still remaining, but not a lot left in the rear. Again, next picture, just pictures of the rear yard, trying to get a sense of the slope of the property. And the last picture is the back of the rear deck, again showing the slope going down. The next two handouts were just the aerial photographs. Their property is outlined in red. Second one is just a larger blow up of the aerial, which gives you a better indication of where the stream is located and how far it is from the rear property boundary. The next one is the zoning plan, which I'm gonna let Tim jump in and explain to you what's depicted on the zoning plan.
Is there a particular location that's best for setting up, bringing the tripod?
You can use that, and I would just take the microphone off of the stand.
You want me to?
You can,
talk
if you
there?
wanted to display that.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
You all see that?
I don't think it's on, is it?
I don't-
It's mostly for the recording,
Yeah.
so you're not gonna hear
You
a
don't
lot in
always
here,
hear, yeah.
but it'll be on the recording.
Okay,
So talk loud, Tim.
I will talk about.
Anyway.
So, Country Lane, we're on the south side. This is the single-family residence, two-story dwelling. The driveway loops off of Country Lane, and then the attached driveway is to the left side. The deck is immediately behind, pretty much centered behind the residence. You can see from the shading how much steep and very steep slope you have on the property. You'll be able to see this bottom left dashed line is the existing waters, so it's off their property. The darker shading, of course, is the very steep slope, and then the intermediate would be the lighter shade of gray. And as Kristen had been mentioning, typically you would have 50 feet from the top of the bank, which you bring it right beyond the southwest corner of the property. But because of the definition of the steep slopes and the riparian buffer, this zone brings it all the way back to the rear of the property. Now, what they're proposing is pretty standard for a turpin landscaping pool, where you have a combination of the patio and the pool. For instances like this, it's not unusual because of the terrain, the topography, to step down multiple levels. And the way they do that is typically with a number of steps, and you'll see some jagged lines. There are two tiers of them that represents boulder walls, which they typically use for their pools. And it's a pretty neat concept in this area. There's lots of boulders you uncover for a typical construction of a pool. And what they do is they just use that for their retaining walls. And it really does blend in with the surroundings. What we're doing for the stormwater management, we're meeting the ordinances. We have two separate systems, and what they would be underground seepage beds, would just be a stone bed, typically 4 feet in depth. In this case, we've got one system that's dashed off to the west side in the rear yard, and then farther south of the pool, we also have a second system here. So we believe that we're trying to shrink wrap where we can get the stormwater management, and we think we can capture the stormwater coming off the property to the west and just below the pool deck and the pool itself. Now, we have a series of piping. You'll see these solid lines here. That's just the area drains that will be picking up the stormwater. And then the drains, typically a 4 to 8 inch PVC pipe, will take it into the underground seepage bed. We have not done our infiltration testing yet. That would be the next step. This area in here, Turpin does an excellent job weaving in some hardscaping and landscaping together. So that's what this is here, some of the darker outlines in this corner. And also between the tiered walls, we'll also have additional landscaping there as well.
So just to highlight the variances needed, section 370, 223, C3A, and that's again your natural resource protection, specifically the steep slopes. The first one is you're limited in the percentage of intermediate steep slopes that can be disturbed. In this case, you're allowed, well, in your ordinance, you're allowed a maximum of 20% of intermediate steep slopes. This proposal, again, because so much of the backyard is sloped, we're at 53.15%. The second variance, again, relates to the steep slope. It's the same section, 370-223 C3A. That limits the overall maximum impervious surface within your intermediate steep slopes, and you're allowed either 1,000 square feet or 5% of the intermediate steep slopes on the lot, whichever is less. And in this case, the 5% number is the less. That's the 677 square feet. And our proposed impervious surface within those intermediate slopes is 3,088.88. So that's obviously more than the 677.69 that's permitted. And then the third variance is because of, again, the way you define inner riparian buffer, you prohibit what's allowed within that area. And again, because we typically wouldn't be in the riparian buffer, it was just based on the distance from the stream, but because you pull in the slope area, basically the whole backyard is considered inner riparian buffer. So we are not permitted to put in an in-ground swimming pool and patios and stormwater facilities within that inner riparian buffer area. So we would need a variance to be able to do that. The one interesting argument that I can make is that you are allowed to have recreational uses, and one of them is a swimming area. But they in inner riparian buffers, but you're not permitted to have structures associated with those recreational facilities, which there's not a lot of recreational facilities that would be without structures. So in one hand, it calls a swimming area. I guess it would have to be a natural pond of some sort, but an actual swimming pool, I think, is a structure, and therefore would not be permitted in the inner riparian buffer. So it's 3 variances that we need. The third, or the final picture that we gave you is the design from Turnpin. They are here if anybody has any specific questions about other work they've done, or specifically how they would, grade it to make it work. But for this stage of the game, the applicants have done a lot, had to do a lot of work already, have had to pay a lot of consultants. It's something and quite honestly, when I first got involved in it, I said, this isn't your typical application, and they said, we don't care, we want to go forward, we would really like to see if we can get the relief needed. So as far as the elements of a variance, the property does have unique physical characteristics that create a hardship. It wasn't self-created, so we're hoping that you look favorably upon the application, or just not take a position and let us try to prove our case before the zoning hearing board. But thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone here on the board have any questions? Bob, do you have any questions?
I'm looking at it on Google Earth, and it looks like if that house were to put a pool in, that would be, I think, the 11th pool on the inner loop of Country Drive, which would be about 40% of the houses. So it's not like there aren't pools every other house almost throughout that area. So I don't know if they also got around the steep slopes or if it's more just with this property, but no questions.
It's probably flatter on the other side, but I'm not inclined to take a position on it.
Yeah, I happen to agree with you.
I agree also.
Let you
Okay.
argue the case.
Normally, we don't vote on that. When we're neutral, and you take it from there. So.
Well, I appreciate your attention and your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
for
you.
providing such a complete
Yes, this is
package.
great.
It's-
Yep, appreciate the
And
details.
good luck.
Thank you.
I mean,
Yeah,
Give me just a second here, guys, sorry.
yes, it would. All of our jobs is here.
I'm gonna put this back here.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, they can argue it. We'll see how it goes.
certainly is not the most interesting.
Okay, moving on to old business. Consideration of approval of Lenai Electric Corporation bid in the amount of $70,864 for the Green Light Go traffic signal improvement project. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Any comments or questions from the public? Lori, do you have any comments on this?
This is just, you'll recall, this is one of our 2 active Green Light Go grants, so we were at the bid phase. McMahon Associates handled the bid for us. They did it via pen bid, and they made the recommendation. This was the low bid. We received 3 bids. The highest was almost $87,000. This was the low bid, and we have a grant from PennDOT in the amount of $64,455, and the township has a 20% match on that of total construction cost. So we feel comfortable with this bid award, and we can move along and expect to have the work done by the summer.
And just to give a reminder to the public, this is something that we were working on probably about a year and a half before COVID. So this is really good to see this come to fruition and get construction moving on it. So this is great. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. New business, authorization for the township manager to close one account with Truist Bank. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Any public comment or questions? Lori, do you want to just real quick tell everybody why we're closing this?
Yes, this was part of our Pliget investment strategy. At the last meeting, the board authorized me to close accounts with First Resource and Meridian Bank. This is just one account. It was our general fund reserve account that we moved money from Truist to Pliget as part of our investment plan. So we're just asking for approval to close this one account with Truist. We still use them as a depository for other banking.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Number 2, consideration of approval of McMahon Associates proposal in the amount of $8,500 for the preparation of bid documents and construction services for the Green Light Go Grant Signal Connection Project. This is for the 2017 Green Light Go Grant Award the township received to upgrade the signals at Pot House and White Horse Road and Creek Road and Valley Park Road. That's right out here for you guys if you haven't figured that out. So I will make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Any public comment or questions? I think this was really self-explanatory. I don't think you
Yep.
really need to comment on this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And this was our second Green Light Go grant that we worked on since before COVID, 2017.
Yep.
Okay. Number 3, consideration of approval of Lexipol proposal in the amount of $12,500 for policy maintenance to maintain the police department accreditation. This is a budgeted item. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Any public comment or questions? I happen to think that this is self-explanatory, but Chief, do you have any comments you want to say?
No, we heard Chief Adams earlier explain the importance of accreditation, and in my remarks, I acknowledged Jen Rosari of Lexipol, who this is, who she worked for. She was instrumental in getting us through the process, and you know, the department our size, and it's really helpful to have her on board, and so yeah, it's really important for us to maintain our relationship with Lexipol.
Great.
I think the only comment I would have is that, you know, I'm just so proud of our police department. I want to make sure that we make an effort on our website to somehow acknowledge all the work that they've gone. I know that's a little off topic for the approval of this, but I want to make sure we have.
See the note that I wrote myself an hour ago. Yeah.
Yes. Now that we can do all sorts of wonderful things with our website,
Yes.
we should make use of it.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolutions and ordinances. Motion to approve resolution number 2023-12 to ratify the appointment of our CPA. I'll make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
This is just a
Administrative
cleanup, an
item.
administrative
Yeah.
cleanup kind of thing. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on, 2-minute reports. Board liaisons. Susan, do you have anything to report?
The only thing I have is to report that the EAC is going to be doing a litter cleanup on March,
April.
April, yes. I was trying to find it. April 22nd.
Okay. That's going to be at 8 to 10,
They have Saturday, April 22nd from 8 to 10.
and we're gonna be meeting at West Evergreen Drive, and we're gonna be cleaning up Pothouse Road.
And is that in honor of birthday, I'm supposing, or no?
It just happened to be.
Okay.
Oh,
They try to do one.
I shook my head yes.
They usually try to do one sometime around
Okay.
Earth Day, but I think this was the first time it's actually fallen on Earth Day, at least since I've been on the board.
Okay.
So, do you have anything?
Yes, so the Clean Energy Transition, the VPP committee sponsored a stakeholder meeting that took place at East Pikeland Township on March 1st. There was, it was a combined meeting with other townships. There were a handful of representatives that attended on behalf of Schuykill Township to discuss the various township members' continuing efforts to consider energy transition in the township and with the overall goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay. Mark, do you have anything?
Nothing special.
Okay. The historical
Anything
commission. How about anything not special?
Anything bland and tasteless?
We're making good progress on the steering committee talks with the fire department. We're working towards formalizing agreements and potentially looking at contractual association instead of the informal agreements we've had in the past. So it's working well.
Good, good. The Historical Commission did not meet this month, but I am the tax collector liaison, and tax bills for Schuykill Township went out a little while ago. I know I received mine. Oh, awesome, that's good, thank you. If you did not receive a tax bill, please contact Aaron Kern. His contact information is on our website. And if you have a mortgage company that pays your tax bill for you, it is your responsibility to send it to your mortgage company, not Aaron, so please make sure you do that. I have nothing else. Bob, do you have anything?
Nothing. All's
Okay.
I did want to say that we did have a regional planning committee meeting this past month as well. One of the things that we are going to emphasize is the virtual nature of the meetings, and we've done some updates on various township websites. It's to make sure that the public has more ease of access to the meetings and can participate virtually, because the public is welcome to attend those meetings.
Okay.
On the tax bills.
Oh.
You can now pay them online.
Yes.
Oh, I
ACH
didn't know
yeah,
that.
ACH is it's cheaper than a stamp now.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
a little
wow.
cheaper. Yeah.
So that was new for this year, that Aaron and us have worked pretty hard on. I mean, he did
Oh,
a lot of
that's
the work,
great.
but we spent a good amount of time on it.
Oh, that's good to know. I didn't realize that.
Probably more
So,
time than we wanted to.
so wait, you put it on your credit card.
Yeah.
Get those
There's-
airline miles.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you can't put it on your credit
You
card.
can put it on a
Oh.
credit card, but then you pay a higher fee,
Yep.
I believe.
Oh, okay.
You do any check.
And what if they go bankrupt with our money? These are their other issues.
Yeah, we
clarified
went
all
down that rabbit hole a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just looking at it from getting the airline miles, but you know.
Yeah.
So,
All
okay. All right, Bob, did you have anything? Okay. All right, Lori, Township Manager.
All right. So happy to report, you guys have heard me multiple times talk about our woes trying to get reimbursed for our Hurricane Ida damages.
Yep.
We haven't gotten all of it yet, but we passed one hurdle and got some money from FEMA, about $17,000, but we didn't
It's
get.
better than
It's
zero.
better than zero, and it's not a full denial, so I feel much more confident now with our
Oh, wow.
second claim. Our second claim is still pending. They had you have to break the claims up, you can't file everything all together, so we did, and we received that money just a couple days ago, actually.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, so that's.
Were our
that's good
claims
news.
mostly based on like road maintenance? And
All road damage. We didn't have any structural damage. So what we got reimbursed for was debris removal, so work that we did to clean debris out of the roadways and take it and recycle it. So that's what we got. What we're waiting on is for them to give us a final assessment on our claims for the road damage that we submitted. This has been a huge, I mean, this claim process has been going on since before I worked here. And we've been working on this. I have to have a meeting with FEMA every 2 weeks to go over this, so it's been a grueling process, but I feel good that we got some money. I was convinced we were getting nothing, so that's
It's a
good.
little
That's
step
positive.
forward.
We'll take $17,000 to start, yeah. I mentioned already, we got reimbursed for the $300,000 for our PA Small Water and Sewer Grant for the Paul Lehman Drive project, so that's great. We also got our 904 grant money for the recycling program. We received that
Oh,
last
good.
month.
How much
And,
did we get for that, Tina?
just about $12,000.
Okay.
Yeah. That's our state recycling grant, the 904 grant, yeah. So that's it for that. Representative Schusterman, I think I announced this once before, but Representative Schusterman has started holding office hours here at the Township Building. That's, Tina, the fourth Thursday of every month in this room from 10 to 1. So residents can come in here to meet with her staff and get help with things like PennDOT issues or anything that the state rep's office can help you with, bus passes, that sort of thing. So 10 to 1, open house, you don't need appointments, you can just come in and meet with them. And that's it for me. Paul's gonna update everybody then on the Paul Lehman Drive project.
Okay, next we have our Chief of Police.
All right, I have a couple things, but first, did you have any questions on the police activity from February?
Nope.
Okay, one of the things I just wanted to do real quickly was to highlight some of the training that we either have done so far this year or have scheduled. Our department just went through low light firearms qualification at the Chester County Public Safety campus. We were able to simulate utilizing our flashlight, in a dark situation. It's valuable training, and it's the first time we've had the opportunity to do that. So, so we just got that done. Sergeant McCarthy just went through a background investigation class, basically giving him guidance, newer guidance, if we were to hire a part-timer, bring somebody onto the department. Sergeant McCarthy and Corporal DiUrio are scheduled to go to a bulletproof leadership class at the end of March. Officer Eric Shallis is scheduled to go to firearms instructor school, state police, at the end of March. Officer Hennessy is scheduled to go to 2 leadership classes. One is called Finding the Leader in You, and the second one is called The Crossing. Officer Shallis is scheduled to go to in August, a solo officer rapid deployment class put on by Chester County. Basically, that's a 1 officer response to active shooter. We'll also be doing our spring firearms qualifications coming up in April. And then over the summer, we're going to plan, I just heard today, along with Phoenixville, an actual active shooter drill in our schools. So I'll be coordinating with school officials over the summer when schools are empty, hopefully, and then we'll put a drill together, a joint drill together between us and Phoenixville on response to active shooter. So we're getting a lot of training done. The other thing I wanted to mention was that on Wednesday, March 22nd, we'll be doing a promotional ceremony at 5:30 p.m. Officer Jim DiUrio will be promoted to corporal, and part-time officer Rod Catchern will be elevated to full-time officer. So all are invited. That's all I have.
We'll be here. Okay,
Yeah, thanks.
great, thank you. Township engineer.
Yes, thank you. As Lori had mentioned, an update for Paul Lehman Drive. On February 28th, T&M, Doley Construction, as well as the Township Roadmaster and staff went out and we did a site inspection, going through the process and the construction and where the project was left after the winter months had occurred. There was areas of disturbance and some curb removal, which was rolled curb, that we coordinated that the areas will be repaired when they go through and do the final punch list in the wearing course. Additionally, on March 2nd, Doley had prepared a pavement plan, like a layout plan, and that was based off of the conversations that we had with Doley at the site. And again, Nick was involved in this, and one of the thoughts is that as they were doing some test borings on Paul Lehman Drive, the pavement thickness is not very thick. So one of the items that we were going to have proposed was to do some milling, and if you go and you mill, it's basically the crunching of the top layer. There was a concern that you're really just going to tear up the entire road. So what we've decided to do, and I'll prepare a memo about this, but for the areas where there was going to be full trench restoration, one of the layers of asphalt is called binder course, which is basically the shock absorber of a road. The only places where the binder would have been installed were in these trench restorations, but it's not existing as of today. So what we talked about, and Nick's likes the idea, is instead of installing that binder course, just push up a little bit more stone and take the money that we were going to put there and then be able to pave further down towards the Oakwood Lane intersection. So instead of it being kind of starting and stopping, it'll be a little bit more of a smoother transition for one of the lanes down there. Doley has prepared a plan that they ran through us. Nick hasn't been available to have a conversation to make sure that's in alignment with exactly what he says, but based off of the site walk, I thought it did. As we were walking through, there were a couple maintenance issues that had to be done. Some of the inlets didn't have the proper bottoms poured in, so like you want it when the water goes there, you just don't want a square box, you want a little bit of a conveyance channel to go through. Dolly noted that, and they had no objection to this. So it was a very productive site walk, and hopefully, once the weather breaks and all the asphalt plants are going full tilt, we'll be able to get this taken care of in the early spring.
Good. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Okay, great. Fire company, do you guys have anything you would like to say? Please come up to the microphone. I know, Evan, I'm so sorry.
No, you aren't.
No, I'm not, yeah.
Nothing significant, 18 calls for the month, fire-wise, 213 EMS calls, and Saturday, April 1st is our annual egg hunt. Free of charge.
Okay. Time?
Check our socials for that.
Okay,
I believe it's 10.
okay,
That's a great event.
Comments? No?
yeah.
Thank you for asking.
If you guys could send us something on that, I could put it on the website.
Absolutely. Can do.
Great.
You can put things on the website.
It's weird, we haven't heard in years.
Okay. Additional business. Discussion on agenda items for upcoming workshop meetings. And you know what, Lori? I know you and I had a conversation, and right now, I can't even think of a single thing I said to you.
Have them right here.
Thank you.
Some of the ideas that we've discussed for upcoming workshops, really what we should determine tonight is if we want to have the workshop this month. But some of the concepts that we discussed for future workshops are the municipal complex, the clean energy plan, the PSATS resolutions, but we're not going to have them for a workshop that's going to have to
Okay.
be on the business agenda. We haven't received them yet. And future community events, but we did already, that conversation, we did already start at our last workshop that we held. So if
That
anybody.
would be more just of a follow-up, I guess.
Yeah,
We
I
can
mean,
tack that on
or if we-
whatever meeting we get to it.
yeah, I would agree. That could also be a regular
Okay.
agenda
Yeah, that can be all right.
item.
Yeah.
So does anybody have anything, I mean, the clean energy plan, we don't have yet, so to schedule that for a workshop now is not,
No,
Probably
we could,
beneficial.
I mean, I think that the capital plan, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of, I'm sorry, the capital plan, municipal complex. I mean, or do you feel as though you're gonna be prepared to just discuss that if we edit
Oh, I
this?
think that would be a future,
that would be a
this
future,
month,
not
yeah.
for, that would not be for
Not
this month.
Yeah.
Not this
Yeah,
month, okay.
that would be I would, the most beneficial way to handle that would be for us to get the RFP out
Mhm.
and then schedule a workshop to review, once we have something to take some
Action.
action
yeah.
on,
We got
yeah.
nothing.
Okay.
So does it seem like there's really nothing this month we really should be?
I don't have anything specific this month unless any other board members had anything they wanted to
But to
discuss
develop,
this
to
month.
develop the
don't have
RFP,
anything
don't you
on
need
hand.
input from the board or no?
The RFP generally would be something that would be written by staff, and
Okay.
then we would get that out. I think we've had discussions before and done some walkthroughs and had some input on what the board was looking for, but this is really just, the RFP would be to get proposals from architects for a feasibility study. So we are not at the RFP process right now that we're looking to put out is just to seek those proposals for an architect to tell us what they can do to create a plan. This is not for actual improvements. That will come later.
Okay.
So does anyone have any ideas for a workshop meeting
Not this month.
this month? Bob, do you have anything? No?
Okay.
Okay. Guess we don't have another month with no workshop meeting. All right.
Sorry.
And I have no announcements other than the announcements that Chief and Susan made. So, public comment. Does anyone have anything they would like to say? Hi there. I know you've been here before.
Yes, George Silp, 801 Spruce Grove. In case I missed it, is there any update on the proposed development of Sedgley Farms?
Are they gonna be at the
Bill?
The,
planning commission meeting?
they will be at the planning commission meeting. They're on the agenda for the planning commission next week.
Next Wednesday. What time's that meeting? Is it 7 or 7:30? I keep forgetting.
7:30.
7:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And weren't they at the last no, not the last EAC
They
meeting?
were at the EAC meeting last
Yeah.
week, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, on the agenda, yeah. They reviewed
But
the
no-
environmental impact assessment.
Thank you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate the chief and his police force on a wonderful achievement for accreditation.
Appreciate that.
Any other public comment? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Since you asked, yes, about the website and, meetings and.
If you
Sorry,
could,
name,
if you could
sorry.
come up here and state your name and address.
Sue Aaron Shield, 130 Valley Park Road, across the street. The website, you list all your meetings and things, most of you do. Like the planning commission, there is no listed meeting under agenda center since
If you're in the agenda center, an agenda's only gonna show up if one has been posted. If you look on the calendar, the meeting dates are on the calendar.
right, so if it's on the calendar, why isn't it under the agenda center?
There may not have been a meeting.
No, the upcoming meeting that you just announced.
It's not posted yet. The agenda doesn't get posted. Agendas are required to be posted 24 hours in advance.
Oh, that was gonna be my next question.
Yep.
Okay, 24 hours, well, that's a lot. How about the minutes?
The minutes get posted after they've been approved, and minutes don't get approved until the meeting occurs.
So you won't see draft minutes on there. You'll see the minutes from the last meeting after the next meeting occurs.
There are multiple minutes not on here.
There haven't been any planning commission meetings for months.
No, I mean for a lot of,
Oh, yeah, we're still uploading new things. This is,
For a lot of-
this is a new website.
Yeah.
But for which, do you have any specific?
well, yeah, most of them. Let's see, you can get agendas, most of the agendas are on there, but the minutes aren't, except for the Board of Supervisors. Well, no, actually, the Board of Supervisors, your last minutes are January 26th from a workshop.
Mm-hmm.
That's because they just approved the February minutes tonight.
We
Okay.
approved the minutes
So you won't see
at
the
this
February-
meeting
yeah.
for
Yeah,
last
so it's gonna lag,
month's.
it's gonna lag about a month and a half.
Yeah.
I got you, which is kind of annoying because you don't know what's going on if you weren't
Well,
here.
but it's the law.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to draft up the minutes
no.
of the last meeting so that we can.
And then how-
When do we,
approve it at
when
the
do we
next
post the
meeting.
videos from this?
How soon do you post the video is my next.
They get posted usually within a day or so
Yes.
afterwards.
And why can't you watch live?
We just don't the meetings
Yeah.
are not live streamed. They're recorded and posted later.
Why?
It costs money.
It's there's costs associated with live streaming that we haven't, so,
Excuse me, okay.
Yeah.
That's valid.
yeah.
Let's see,
Yeah.
all right, minutes, hold on a second. Zoning board, oh, yeah, the zoning board isn't under agendas, even though there's on the
Zoning hearing board is a
Yeah.
whole different animal. Zoning
Okay.
hearing board doesn't have agendas. They have postings that are done by the zoning hearing board attorney that
The
are run,
legal-
the
Legal
legal
notices.
postings.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, it's a little convoluted trying to find where everything is. The calendar is pretty good, once you realize that. Now, I've signed up for all the, to get notices and, texts or about meetings, and I haven't received one yet. And I've signed up, I've gone through the process a couple of times. The most recent time, I finally got, notices that I've been approved or something, or, you get a text.
There is a
or
process that you have to,
Yeah, you have to go and check everything.
yep,
off,
and you would have
then
had to get an email to
saying-
verify your email address, correct?
Yeah, but then that was it. I haven't gotten any other,
Did you get an email, did you sign up for notifications for the agenda for tonight's meeting?
for everything.
And did you receive the
No.
agenda for tonight's meeting in your email?
No.
Okay, you can contact the office and we can look and see if we can identify what the issue is.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
I did.
Okay.
Maybe
Because I
going, I
signed
wonder
up
if it's
on-
going to spam.
Yeah.
Did you
Could
check-
be.
Yeah, did you check spam?
I can do that. But I've gotten the email saying I've signed up,
Uh-huh.
so I don't know why it goes spam.
Or promotions, or if you got a Gmail, it might go to promotions. But,
You'll have to wait and come to the mic and state your name and address.
What she's saying. Sporadic.
yeah.
Have you gotten anything? I've gotten some. Oh, really? No,
It also depends on what we're sending out.
Yeah.
okay. I'll search for some, but I don't.
You know, the other thing, we don't send stuff out like every day.
No.
And it may not even be once a week. It just depends on if something's happening.
I know, but I signed up for the text messages thinking I would notice those before I might miss an email, but I haven't gotten any text messages that accepted confirmation.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like something.
Yeah, we
that-
can look into it.
Okay.
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 Thanks.
Any more public comment? I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.